Support WrestleTalk!
Thank you for your support on Patreon, the $100 man CD Horville. Hello and welcome to the WrestleTalk MECHA News. I am Luke Owen. Press the thumbs up and hit the subscribe button harder than Ollie Davis is going to hit El Fakador in their wrestling match this coming Monday, which will be contested inside of YouTube from what I can gather. I'm very confused about the whole thing. And leave a comment down below to answer our question of the day. Who would you like to see walk away as the NXT Champion after TakeOver New York? We've got a packed show of news today, including the latest WrestleMania plans, news on who that NXT Champion might be, All Elite Wrestling signing a former Impact champion, and more. But first, Brooklyn Nine-Nine star Stephanie Beatrice, whose name I may be saying totally wrong, and I'm very sorry about that, had quite an emotional ride when the show was cancelled by Fox, only for it to be picked up by NBC for a 6th season. However, she shared a seemingly worse ride from a few days ago, when she posted on Instagram how she was held up in traffic by someone doing a photo shoot, only to reveal that the person doing the photo shoot was the former Russian-accented Lana. Maybe WWE could arrange a crossover where the cast of Brooklyn Nine-Nine show up on SmackDown and team with Rey Mysterio for Brooklyn 6199. Yeah?
You sure you want to go with that one?
Absolutely, it's hilarious.
All right.
Or maybe WWE can get them involved with WrestleMania, because with Alexa Bliss hosting, those SNL dudes being special correspondents, and Elias doing a musical number, you may as well just add more pointless guff onto what is already a stacked show, which may now be slightly clearer. For the last few weeks, it's been reported that WWE have left all their WrestleMania plans to the last minute, often changing their minds and altering plans on a daily basis. While previous WrestleManias are in place in skeleton form in November or December, WWE reportedly waited until March to get things finalized. And even then, there are still matches up in the air. So far, we know that Ronda Rousey will defend her Raw Women's Championship against Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair. Seth Rollins will challenge Brock Lesnar for the Universal Championship. The Miz will clash with Shane McMahon. Batista will get what he wants with Triple H. And AJ Styles will face off against Randy Orton. Also announced this week was Samoa Joe versus Rey Mysterio for the United States Championship. Buddy Murphy defending his Cruiserweight Championship against Tony Nese, and Kurt Angle versus Baron Corbin in Angle's farewell match, which according to Justin LaBar is not going to happen, but PW Insider are reporting will take place and is the concrete plan as of right now. We can also assume that Daniel Bryan will defend his WWE Championship against Kofi Kingston, and Roman Reigns will accept the challenge of Drew McIntyre. It was also announced that Asuka will defend her Women's Championship against the winner of Mandy Rose versus Naomi versus Carmella versus Sonya Deville, though going by SmackDown's track record as of late, card subject to change, that could end up being a tag match that doesn't even take place. So if you're keeping score at home, that's 11 matches on the WrestleMania card so far. But it's been reported that this year's event will likely have a whopping 17 matches on a butt-numbing 8-hour show. So what's filling the rest of the card? Well, John Cena has been rumored for a match for some time and is still scheduled to wrestle, but there have been no hints given on who that might be against, unless it's R-Truth, of course. And Dave Meltzer has reported in the Wrestling Observer newsletter that he's been told the Usos will defend their tag team championships in what could be a multi-team match, and Bayley and Sasha Banks will defend their tag titles against the Divas of Doom, Nia Jax, Tamina, and the Iconics, along with the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, which Braun Strowman confirmed himself for, and the WrestleMania Women's Battle Royal, which reportedly will take place according to the Observer. That's 16 matches so far. However, there are also reports that Bobby Lashley will defend his Intercontinental Championship against Finn Balor as the Demon, and the Revival will reportedly defend their tag titles against Aleister Black and Ricochet, which will make 18 matches. And that doesn't include the Elias performance, Alexa Bliss segments, SNL dudes doing whatever it is they're doing, and a possible Undertaker appearance if this production truck is to be believed. So settle in, folks, this is going to be a long show. Although going by a new report, it won't be WrestleMania where we see the return of the Dead Man. In Ollie Davis's news episode yesterday, he talked about a Michelle McCool Instagram post that suggested Undertaker might be returning to WWE, which was aided by an image posted by Wrestling Inc. of Undertaker's face appearing on a WrestleMania production truck. While a lot of this could just be speculation, after all, Undertaker is going to be appearing at Starrcast 2 soon, and, well, that's just a truck, it has been reported that Vince McMahon was very upset about Undertaker taking the Starrcast booking. So much so, in fact, that some reports even said that Vince was trying to get Taker pulled from the event with the hopes of having him appear at WrestleMania. And it would seem that in some capacity, Vince McMahon is going to get his way. As Dave Meltzer has noted in the latest Observer, whatever issues there are with Undertaker doing Starcast may not have been settled, but they aren't strong enough to keep Undertaker off the Saudi Arabia show on the 3rd of May. If Undertaker is wrestling on that show, which seems likely, otherwise he'll just be there to cut an awkward Raw 25 style promo, that also means Undertaker isn't retired like we all thought he was following the controversial Crown Jewel show, and that somewhat disastrous match with his brother Kane against D-Generation X. It's been heavily reported previously that WWE has a very lucrative money deal with Saudi Arabia, with Meltzer noting that even though Mania is promoted as the biggest show of the year, the two Saudi shows are, by a wide margin, the two biggest money events of the year for the company. Speaking of returns, and it's been reported by PW Insider that Chris Sabin is returning to Impact Wrestling. Mike Johnson is reporting that Sabin's Ring of Honor contract has now expired and he chose not to renew it. His last appearance for the company was on January 12th, where he tore his ACL, with reports saying he'll be out for 6 to 12 months, with Johnson adding that he has still yet to get surgery on that injury. Sabin will reportedly be returning to Impact as a backstage producer for this weekend's taping, where he will be joined by fellow new producer Lance Storm. D'Lo Brown and Paul London worked as backstage producers at the Las Vegas tapings, with Mike Johnson reporting that we are told that the company is working on finding the right mix of producers to replace Sanjay Dutt and Abyss, and will be trying different producers before settling into a decision on permanent replacements. And those weekend ticket sales are doing very well indeed, according to Dave Meltzer over at the Wrestling Observer. The Saturday show, which will feature Jordan Grace versus the returning Madison Rayne, Sami Callihan teaming with former Sanity member Madman Fulton, Double or Nothing Battle Royal entrant Ace Austin, the debut of Josh Alexander, and Impact Wrestling producer Petey Williams stepping back into the ring once again, has completely sold out, according to Meltzer, with the Sunday show also doing very, very well, which will see Johnny Impact team with LAX to take on Brian Cage and the Lucha Brothers. But someone who won't be at those tapings is Ali, as it was announced yesterday the former Knockout champion has left Impact to sign with All Elite Wrestling. The signing was revealed in the 8th episode of The Road to Double or Nothing, with Mike Johnson adding on PW Insider that Impact Wrestling told Ali back in January that they would not be renewing her contract as they wanted to refresh the roster, despite her being well liked backstage. According to backstage reports, Ali didn't tell her Impact co-workers that she was leaving, with many only finding out when All Elite Wrestling made the announcement yesterday. Johnson adds there were quite a few people from Impact who praised her work to me today, especially her attitude from the last set of TV tapings, as she showed up and worked hard and had a great attitude towards everyone despite being put into a difficult situation where she knew she was done. It was announced on this week's episode of NXT that Tommaso Ciampa has officially vacated his NXT Championship due to injury, with Triple H revealing that Johnny Gargano would face the winner of a fatal 5-way for the vacant title at NXT TakeOver New York. That winner ended up being Adam Cole, baby, with the two set to face off against each other in a 2 out of 3 falls match on April 5th. But who will walk out the victor? Well, it would seem that NXT have revealed that information themselves. So we're putting a spoiler room brawl warning on this next bit of news, so if you want to skip ahead, please use the timestamp provided by Editor Simon on screen right now. We're heading into the spoiler room brawl in 3, 2, 1. A reader of Wrestling Inc. has sent in an advertisement for an NXT live event in Minnesota on April 26th, which advertises a champion versus champion match between Velveteen Dream and Adam Cole Bebe. This would mean that Cole is set to capture the NXT Championship in the main event of TakeOver New York, and that Dream will successfully defend his North American Championship against Matt Riddle on the same show. While many might think this makes sense, as Gargano made his main roster debut a couple of weeks ago alongside Ciampa, Aleister Black and Ricochet, it was reported last week that Gargano's call-up was currently uncertain. But as always, cards subject to change, this is just a live event and nothing official. Welcome back if you just clicked the timestamp to avoid that spoiler room brawl, where we're going to stick with NXT for a moment with an interesting little bit of news from this week's Wrestling Observer newsletter. It has been heavily reported for some time now that Ronda Rousey is set to leave WWE after WrestleMania 35, looking to take time off to start a family with her husband and security guard puncher Travis Brown. around. With reports of Rousey on the outs with WWE, it has been speculated that the company might call up fellow Horsewomen member Shayna Baszler from NXT, who is set to defend her NXT Women's Championship in a fatal four-way against Kairi Sane, Io Shirai, and Bianca Belair at NXT TakeOver New York. And according to Dave Meltzer, Baszler might not be called up with her Horsewomen buddies Jessamyn Duke and Marina Shafir, who formed a trio late last year. There was some speculation that Duke and Shafir could get an early call-up to be alongside Ronda Rousey, which was furthered when both of them were missing from the last two sets of TV tapings. Meltzer instead notes that if Baszler does get called up to the main roster, then Marina Shafir might be added to the Undisputed Era as their new member, playing off her real-life marriage to Undisputed Era member Roderick Strong. It should also be noted that Shafir has previously teamed with the Undisputed Era before at NXT house shows, which is often a sign that the company is heading in that direction. This would also open up the doors for Jessamyn Duke to be pushed as a single star, with several reports from NXT house shows saying she is the best and most improved wrestler of the MMA Horsewomen. We wanted to say a big thank you to everyone who joined WrestleTalk for our first ever live stream yesterday, where myself and WrestleTalk.com and Screenstalker's Pete Quinnell reviewed this week's NXT. We would like to apologize for that audio snafu at the start of the recording though, which was 100% the fault of Randy Andy Datson. If all goes to plan, Ollie and I will be reviewing Raw and SmackDown in live Wrestle Rambles next week, and we have plans to live stream reactions for NXT TakeOver New York and WrestleMania 35. Again, those are just plans at this point, nothing is confirmed. That WrestleMania show is going to be very, very long. And if you're out about in London tonight, why not head down to the Prince Charles Cinema in Leicester Square to take in a screening of classic video game movie Street Fighter, where I'll be doing a special intro and selling copies of my book, Lights, Camera, Game Over: How Video Game Movies Get Made. And as a special treat for the SWAF Nation, if you visit WrestleCrate.co.uk and use the discount code WTTV, you'll get a free autograph bundle, including one from a WWE legend, a current WWE star, and one from Ollie and myself in your first box, which you may want for some reason. WrestleCrate is a monthly mystery box full of loads of wrestling goodies, which has items from the biggest promotions in wrestling. Use the code WTTV at WrestleCrate.co.uk and get a free autograph bundle. Thanks for watching, and a special thank you to our awesome pledge hammers on Patreon, who you can see scrolling their way into my stomach. Click the video on screen to hear about CM Punk possibly joining All Elite Wrestling, and click the Patreon link to get your name in the credits as well. I've been Luke Owen, and that was Mecha News.